So I'm gonna come at you guys just strong with this cold open,
knock
right?
me out right in the face.
Knock you right out. Just you're gonna have to take it right on the chin.
Okay.
We are diving right into our midterm arc.
Oh yeah.
After the Build Back Better arc, there was a little bit of filler, a couple mini arcs here and there, but now we are diving fully into the midterm arc. And I want to share with Jeremy this clip I found on Twitter of Candace Taylor, a Republican who's running for governor of Georgia.
Okay.
Here's the clip.
Okay.
My slogan's Jesus, guns, and babies. Jesus, because that's our First Amendment right. It's the right to worship Jesus Christ freely. It's why we have a country. Don't talk to me about separation of church and state. Church and state was written because the state has no business in our church. But we are the church. We're the church, and we run the state. And Georgia's sovereign, and we're running this state with Jesus Christ first. The good thing about the First Amendment is if you're a Jew or you're a Muslim or you're a Buddhist, you still get to worship your God because you're in America, but you don't get to silence us. I'm sick of political correctness. It's going to stop. I will not bend my knee. I will not take Jesus out, even when people say, Candace, you should say God. No, I'm going to say Jesus. He's my Savior. He saved me. And guns, because yes, we have the right to protect ourselves. That's why I carry my pocketbook to the stage. We have the right to protect ourselves. If I say get down, I'm a good shot. But we also have the right to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. Look at Australia.
That's where the clip ends.
What did Australia do?
Isn't that, I have no fucking idea. Isn't that crazy though? Isn't that absolutely just unhinged? I swear to God, if I was in like a fucking evangelical conservative and I was listening to this, that shit would get me hyper than Mo Bamba at a football game in 2019. You know what I'm saying?
God,
she was out there and she was fucking spitting.
That's got to be the most Southern woman I've ever seen.
Literally.
In my life.
Isn't that shit crazy though? Isn't
my
that
God.
shit crazy? She was spitting.
She said, the good thing about being Jewish or Muslim in the United States, you still get to worship, but this is a Christian nation.
But you don't get to cancel us.
This is a Christian nation. We need to mix religion and politics as much as possible. Separation of church and state only works one way, people. And we're not separating government from church. Church runs government.
Just absolute spitting out there. Why don't we have anybody like that?
Oh my God, I know.
In the video, the dude stuck his hands up like he was fucking worshiping right there. Like she was a pastor and it was 9 a.m. at the church.
Bro was communing with God.
He was up there like that. That's right. That's right.
Oh my goodness. That is insane.
Right? We need somebody like that.
That's going to be us.
Facts.
That's what we can be for our audience and for the left.
Welcome back to the show, everybody.
Welcome back to Head in the Office. What an insane cold open today.
That's right. That's right.
We had to follow it up for the week that we missed. You know,
So
we
true.
had to
I had to make up for it.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I hope you are ready for our midterm arc because it's fully begun.
That's right. Today we got before we dive into that though, we got a little bit of Elon Musk buying Twitter.
It's true.
A little bit of Biden not doing things
Being
more
dumb.
accurately.
Yeah, being
Yeah,
dumb.
a little bit of abortion updates.
Got to give an abortion update.
And then the big story this
unfortunately.
week, the Pennsylvania Republican primary debate.
Yeah, you know, what I really wanted to do this week was just like extensively cover the debate, but the news just couldn't stop coming.
So putrid.
And I knew that when I saw some of these news stories, we couldn't just ignore them.
Exactly.
As much as I like to just tune out all the news that I don't want to see, you know, because that's what liberals do, of course. We just
Exactly.
always shy away from conflict as much as possible. But before we get into the show, got to remind you all, check out our Patreon. Patreon.com/headintheofficepod. You can check out our YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter.
Please
got
do.
a Discord. It's Head in the Office everywhere you look for us.
Right.
Join the Discord.
Pretty simple.
We got like 70 people, I think, in there now.
It's pretty
We're
hard.
A growing community. Lots of cool people. You should check
It's
it out.
cool events like every weekend.
Exactly.
Community game nights.
You should really check it out. And we got some exciting stuff planned. You get to like take votes when we're trying to figure stuff out.
Exactly.
And we want to defer to democracy because it is an authoritarian
Always.
dictatorship. In
Yeah,
there.
exactly. At the end of the day, we have the say in everything that gets done.
Exactly.
End all be all. It's
Exactly.
really just for show.
Yeah. No, yeah, literally. It's just an illusion to make you feel good.
Exactly.
And I'll also remind you, leave a 5-star review on Apple.
Yeah, speaking of 5-star reviews, while the news just kept coming in, absolutely no 5-star reviews came in this week. So,
See,
be that as it may.
if I had a nickel for every 5-star review we had today, I'd have no nickels.
It's so true.
But if I had a nickel for every time Madison Cawthorn brought a gun to the airport, I'd have 2 nickels. So what's up with that? Madison Cawthorn has brought a gun to the airport more times than we have reviews today, and I think something's wrong with that.
Something's off right
Something's
there.
just violently
We
wrong
need
with the way
to
the world
even
works.
these numbers out at least.
Exactly. Well, I think we should dive right into the news coverage.
All right, let's get into it.
And because this news coverage is pretty putrid, pretty bad.
Okay.
We're going to start with one of the worst topics we have to talk about today, which is a new abortion bill, which I was made aware of like last night when I saw a TikTok on it.
Okay,
Actually.
I didn't even know about it. I'm going in raw.
There's actually, I think there's been a number of abortion bills that have popped up this week because Republicans are terrible, and it's just a continuation of what they've been doing. But the one I want to zero in on is from Ohio. Okay?
Again?
It's from Ohio, yeah, and it's a bill that's been introduced by, I think it's a state representative. Her name is Jean Schmidt.
Okay, cool.
She's known as Mean Jean.
Oh,
in the legislature.
Wow.
Because she's so terrible. But what the bill is basically doing is it has a minimum 4 to 7 year prison sentence for people that aid with abortions, and a maximum prison sentence of 25 years.
What?
With a fine of $10,000, all for just performing an abortion.
What's gonna happen to the people that get an abortion?
I don't know if I couldn't tell because they were differentiating between criminal abortion and abortion manslaughter.
Love that.
I don't know what the difference is,
Love
but both
that.
of them carried prison sentences and fines. I think criminal abortion was 1 to 2 years in prison though, with like a $2,000 fine or something like that. So I don't know if criminal abortion counts like for the mother that would be getting an abortion, and abortion manslaughter would be the doctor, or the other way around. Either way, people are going to jail for aiding abortions. That's not good.
Not good at all.
And there's only one exception, just one,
Okay.
for medical purposes.
Wow.
But the only way that a mother could get an exception for medical purposes is if 2 unrelated doctors sign off on the mother getting an abortion for medical reasons. So not only do you need the approval of one doctor, you need the approval of 2 doctors. And what if, you're in a state like Ohio, right?
Uh-huh.
Terrible state like Ohio.
Yeah,
like,
awful state.
Probably the worst place to be.
It smells like fucking expired eggs when you drive through Ohio.
And you live, in the middle of nowhere, which is most of Ohio, I'll add. You live in the middle of nowhere. You can only find one doctor to sign off. The rest of them are, thinking that the QAnon is invading, or not QAnon, but Antifa is invading the Capitol on January 6th. They were the ones to do it.
It's just time to eat shit and die.
Yeah, I guess you just got to take it on the chin.
God damn.
So that's a nice barrier for people that need to get medical help for, a pregnancy that's threatening their life. But you'll notice there's no exception for rape or incest.
It seems to be a common trend.
And this lawmaker, Mean Jean, she was asked specifically about this. I can't remember the guy who asked her, but it was during session.
Yeah.
One of the lawmakers was like, okay, so let's say hypothetically, a young girl, say 13 years old,
I did see
is a victim of a serial rapist. Or let's say more likely, she is a victim of a family member.
Yeah.
Because that happens very common, unfortunately. And her response was this. I have a quote. She says, quote, "It's a shame that it happens. But there's an opportunity for that woman, no matter how young or old she is. She can choose to raise the child. She can choose to give that child to a loving family member or give it to someone else. And that child can grow up and be something magnificent, a wonderful family person, cure cancer. Just because you have emotional scars doesn't give you the right to take a life." Emotional scars.
Dog.
I wouldn't put it so lightly.
Yeah, just a simple emotional scar, not deep-rooted trauma or anything like that.
I don't think I would call state-sponsored rape a opportunity for anybody. I don't think.
13-year-old, when she's raped, that's a no-go. You can't literally kill a baby. Black person when walking,
True.
getting shot by a cop,
See,
that's
apparently,
okay.
if you're a woman, right, and you become pregnant, you no longer are a human being.
Yeah,
actually,
facts.
actually, you don't matter anymore. You're simply a vessel. That is it.
It's okay for a cop to kill somebody though when they don't comply.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
because they're not complying.
But if a child is raped and becomes pregnant as a result of that, two wrongs don't make a right.
I mean, like you said a couple weeks ago, it's like everyone saw Texas and is like, I need to do more. I need to make existing as a woman as painful as humanly possible.
It's my time to shine, baby.
Exactly. Like, oh my, it's absolutely psychotic to think that there's opportunity or any kind of silver lining when someone's been traumatized by, a sexual assault experience. And then the state is going to force them to go through the pregnancy. The state. Like, I don't care what your personal views on abortion are. I don't care if you think that a fetus is a person at conception. It doesn't matter. If you think that a child, a 13-year-old child, should have to go through with the pregnancy because the state is telling them to, you're fucking insane. And I'll tell you that if this does happen, because this bill passes, goes into effect, it will happen. That child and their family will probably just seek an abortion in some, back alley method.
Yeah, no, literally.
And the child will probably, if not be physically harmed in the process because it won't be a safe procedure, they might just fucking die. But, Republican lawmakers.
But, Mean Gene. I'm starting to think mean's a little bit of an understatement.
Yeah. Maybe just doesn't care about human life, Gene.
Yeah.
Devil.
God, the actual devil.
Demon from hell. I don't know.
God.
I don't know. Moving on to some more bad news, though.
Yeah.
Some not as bad.
Significantly less bad
probably
news.
Not as harmful, but still pretty bad news. Elon Musk completely bought Twitter.
In what was a fucking surprise move that I woke up to like Monday morning just to see on Instagram.
I know, just as we had covered Elon Musk offering to buy it, and then the show comes out, and then he actually buys it.
Just as the fucking board comes out and says, no, we're not doing this. We're going to adopt a plan that would actually tank shares if he tries to do this. They caved in.
Yeah, so last week, Elon Musk, he offered to buy Twitter for $44 billion or whatever it was. And recently, they accepted the offer. And the deal is starting to go through, although these things take quite a long time. And we'll get to it.
Yeah.
But deals this large, which I think this is like the largest deal in like 20 years or something like that, or 3 decades or something like that. It takes a little while to go through. But Elon Musk was going crazy on Twitter the last few days.
Oh, yes,
because he's getting a lot of attention. He's enjoying it, He's loving it. He's reveling in it. And he shared 2 memes that I wanted to point out. This is what we've come to. This is the lengths.
Atrocious.
This is the lengths we would go to for content. We're covering memes of some billionaire posting on Twitter. Shit posting, really. One was it was a Tim Pool meme, actually.
Oh,
it was Tim Pool, and it's like the meme was like going in a circle, right? So it's like a cycle. It's Tim Pool saying, "Here's an example of Twitter having a left-wing bias," and then whoever he's on with is saying, "Well, we need to put it in a context." And then Tim Pool says, well, the context is influenced by left-wing bias. And then the person says, well, I need an example of that. And it's going in a circle, right? It's nonsense. Like, what? I don't know what the point of this meme is.
It's just a fucking statement. It's that in conjunction with the other meme that was like stick figures standing on the political spectrum. I'm sure you've all fucking seen it by now. And he's saying that the political spectrum is just increasingly going more and more left-wing. So that him, as someone who in 2008 was situated as a firm center-left person, by staying somehow with the same positions, he's saying he's now a right-winger for believing those things. Even though that's just factually wrong. Like, objectively, we have studies that prove the Overton window has only shifted right over the years.
You gotta wonder what specific policy issues or social issues he was thinking about.
Yeah.
Because, like, the thing that came to mind for me was, like, gay marriage. Like, 2008, were you, like, opposed to gay marriage, and now people are more accepting and calling you a bigot? Like, yes. Like, you are.
True.
Like, social values change over time, big dog. And if you're not going to change along with them, then, people are going to ostracize you. Also, you're the richest person on the planet. Like, you're fucking complaining. Like, I don't care.
And it's like, yeah, dog, in the 90s, the crime bill passed by Joe Biden and the Democrats.
Right.
Vehemently racist back then, but now is more regularly understood as vehemently racist and identified as right wing.
That's like someone in like 1940 or someone in like the 1960s. They post something like, "Well, in 1940, I was like center left.
I'm a classical liberal."
And now,
actually.
and now Democrats want black people to be able to vote at the polls. Like, what is this Voting Rights Act?
Now you're calling me a conservative?
What is this Civil Rights Act? Like, why am I being called a bigot? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's so fucking stupid. Like, Democrats have over time become more progressive in some areas, but like, what policies have passed throughout the last 10 years that would even give you the opportunity to frame the issue as if the Democrats are like socialists now? Obamacare. That was a raging success for the left.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Like,
everyone loves Obamacare. You don't ever hear anyone talking shit.
And like, you compare us to other countries. Like, the Democrats are on the right. Internationally, the Democrats are not a left-wing party.
No.
Like, all the positions the far left of the Democratic Party supports, like nationalized health care, free college and stuff like that, that just exists in other countries.
We have like 10, 12 people in Congress, like at the House and the Senate, who say some actual left-wing ideas.
Right.
Who get out there and actually spew anti-capitalist stuff.
Yeah, and like data on polarization statistics shows that both parties have like moved apart. They have separated throughout the last few years because polarization has increased in the country.
Yeah.
But to say that it's only the left getting more extreme is fucking like the right had an insurrection. they openly believe in QAnon on mainstream news sources.
Nick Fuentes is like recognized as a mainstream figure, and he's
Tucker
a
Carlson.
fucking Nazi.
Tucker Carlson talking about white replacement theory, like openly talking about white
they
replacement
all
theory.
do.
And the left is the one that has gotten too extreme. Like the left wants free healthcare. The right doesn't want to teach kids that the KKK is bad. Like, come on.
I go out there and I say that price gouging is bad. And people tell me, actually, Thomas Sowell says that it's a function of the free market and therefore it's good.
Yeah.
Like, come on now.
Yeah.
These are not equal playing fields.
He also tweeted on the 29th of April. He said, quote, "The far left hates everyone, themselves included."
Oh.
And then he commented on his tweet and he's saying like the far right also hates too much and he just wants less hate in the world overall.
This motherfucker, didn't he follow that up with a tweet like, I want Twitter to be more in line with like free speech, and that means making the far left just as mad as the far right?
Something like that.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I saw someone reply saying, "Oh, so you're just gonna ban more union organizers now?" Like, that's it. That's it.
No, that's the whole thing. Is like, okay, the far left is anti-capitalist. They are they're objecting to unjust hierarchies as they see them. They're objecting to domination in an economic sense. The far right, doesn't like people of color?
They want to say slurs.
Right.
They just want to say slurs.
The only thing I can predict here is that with Elon owning Twitter, it's just going to be more libs of TikTok accounts that go uncorrected by the TOS and like moderation teams. No, they're just going to be like doxing gay teachers and getting away with it and being celebrated for it on Fox News.
Because it's like the motherfucking leftists who were already doing crazy shit were already getting banned.
Yeah.
Like the people just tweeting, "We need to kill Mitt Romney." They were already getting banned, dog.
Right.
Rightfully so.
No, yeah, like psychos on the left were getting banned all the time. Psychos on the right were also getting banned for saying things like, "We need to like kill trans people and throw them out of helicopters."
Like, tweeting things like the hard R.
Right.
Like, god damn.
Like all it's gonna be is people getting away with something that's like slightly less than a slur, and then they'll be like, "Well, I'm not racist. You can never find an instance of me saying the N-word."
Yeah.
Like, why is that the part for like there's no way that Twitter can like improve. Like it's just this is what it's going to be. Every kind of policy that Elon Musk could implement to change Twitter is still going to contain some amount of moderation. It's just about what kind of content is being moderated. And he's made it very clear that he is siding with the right. I mean, like, everyone on the right is celebrating this.
Oh yeah, and he's responding to him too. Like he'll be in tweet threads with Ben Shapiro,
Steven Crowder.
God,
like KKK Steven Crowder.
Steven KKK Crowder.
Exactly. Like he's just openly supporting conservatives, and I love how conservatives claim to be so against big tech, so against censorship, but they will just.
But now Twitter's great.
Yeah,
now
they'll just openly support someone that's in charge of a big tech company. As long as they're on their side. Like it's all fake. They don't have any actual principles. All they know is power. That's
God
it.
Fucking damn, bro. I love it. I love it so much.
Gotta love it.
Just the discourse surrounding this has been crazy. I was in physics, my fucking physics class of all places, and we were doing group work, right? And somebody like just mentioned how Elon Musk buys Twitter. And the dude that sat next to me, who doesn't do physics in physics, he just sits on his computer and trades stocks all day.
It's a good precursor.
Fucking awful dude, right? He gets on there and he immediately his ears fucking perk at the sound of Elon's name, and he starts talking about how it's so fucking good that he's bringing free speech to the platform. And I was not feeling the smoke that day. I was just trying to get physics done. Finals are this week for me. Like my physics final is the day this episode airs for everybody. So I'm just trying to get prepared. I'm not ready to go to bat. But one of the other girls at my table, she said something like, "I don't really like that Elon bought that." I like she had her heart in the right place.
Yeah,
but she didn't get it exactly right. She's like, "Well, isn't it illegal that some guy can like buy something like that and say it's free speech?" And then another guy at my table goes, "Actually, it's illegal what Twitter's doing right now because there's no free speech on the platform." Fucking laymen do not understand what free speech within the Constitution is. They don't understand. It doesn't apply to fucking private companies. It's only a government thing. Only the government can tell you what not to do. Free speech does not mean you can just go say slurs. Free speech does not mean you can go be a dick and everyone just has to take that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, it's like the private companies are okay as long as people that I like are running them.
Yeah.
Even though the structures that exist are what is incentivizing people to act in one way or the other. You know what I mean? Like, they're always so against, like, woke corporations.
Yeah.
When, like, capitalism, by nature, encourages these people to act what they perceive to be woke because it's bringing them more profits.
Yeah.
Like, this is what capitalism is. It's not that they, like, are actually on the left or they're actual leftists. They're actually anti-capitalist. They can't. Like, fundamentally, they can't be. They're doing what they think will bring them profit. But they don't object to that. They object to just them being woke without understanding the structures that necessitate that kind of behavior. Like, they're just dumb.
They always love to bring out how they're pandering to the woke crowd.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what fucking marketing is.
What do you think Elon Musk is doing? Elon Musk is pandering to you because he knows you're fucking stupid.
Marketing in of itself is fucking pandering. That's all it is. This is the system you like. This is the system you created.
Yeah.
God
no
damn,
actual
bro.
structural critiques, as always.
It's always,
you can only get the correct critiques from us, of course.
But it's just, I just love the mainstream discourse surrounding this and how people actually bite at the free speech grift because they got banned for saying the N-word one time.
Yeah.
You know, like that's all that fucking is.
I should be allowed to do it.
I should let it rip on the timeline. What if I'm just tweeting lyrics to my favorite song?
I'm sure that minorities on Twitter will feel very free when they are just being harassed. And I guarantee that, like, you know, your typical gay teacher will feel very free when they're being outed to millions of people on Twitter and getting fired for being gay. I'm sure they'll feel so. I bet they'll feel like their free speech is being prioritized.
I can't wait till we get banned.
I know.
Once the new terms of service come out, I want to toe the line. I want to toe the line so hard.
I'm going crazy. I'm gonna find every single bullet point that is bad on the TOS. Like, you can't do this. I'm gonna do them all.
Every left wing bullet point that's bad on the TOS.
Exactly. I've seen some talk that this deal might eventually not go through. I don't really know why. I've just seen some people saying, like, he might not be able to buy Twitter. There may be some
he already
obstacles
took
to
out
it.
the fucking loan, which is another point to talk about, right? Because I've seen so many people. I've seen people rightfully say, y'all were coming at us for advocating for higher taxes on Elon, yet he can just whip out $44 billion fucking dollars to buy a company just for fun for his own pet project.
Yeah.
And people are like, he took out a loan. But he took out a loan. You cannot go take out a $44 billion loan. If you wanted to take out a loan that fucking big, if you wanted to take out a loan that was proportionally that fucking big to your income, you would have just insane difficulty as a regular person. And he's going to get to pay that back with little to no interest rates as the stocks that he used as collateral just continue to grow because of this positive PR move. Because the stock market is also run purely on speculation. Purely on speculation. As more people like Elon, they're more inclined to invest in fucking Tesla, pushing it up further. Fucking ridiculous. It's all a game. It's all a fucking game.
It's all absolutely stupid. And it just goes to show you that all these people talking about, like, well, it's not liquid, you can't tax it. It's not liquid, you can't. He liquidated it, like, in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
like,
and I think, like, 11 billion of it was liquid.
Yeah, like, I mean,
just out of $11 billion.
He can just get $44 billion and purchase one of the biggest social media platforms on the fucking planet. But we can't tax him more, God forbid.
Yeah, if you can do that, literally fuck you. I'm sick of it, bro. I'm sick of everybody living in the crevices of the boot.
Like, I don't know how we got to a point where people can mentally justify people literally living on the street, thousands of people living on the street, more homes in this country than homeless people. We can be okay with that. And we can also simultaneously be okay with someone taking out $44 billion to purchase a social media company. Again, one of the biggest on the planet. Like, how can we see both of those things and be like, yeah, that is natural. Like, that's the cost of a free society.
Dude,
that's okay.
It's not even just like rich, out of touch people commenting on stuff like that, like making fun of people who are poor. It's poor people who fall for it too. It's like that one fucking quote, every American is a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. You know what I mean? I saw this one TikTok the other day, and this guy some dude was talking about free healthcare, obviously base, pretty good. And this dude commented, like, I shouldn't be obligated to pay for some kids, like, cancer treatment. And dude responded and he said, what about if you weren't able to afford your cancer treatment? And he says, that's just how it is then. I work.
Bro,
I work.
It's not even that. It's like, you already pay for other people's cancer treatments. What the fuck do you think premiums are?
Ridiculous.
Like, these people would rather pay to private companies that don't have their best interests at heart and they can't democratically control than pay into a program that would be publicly funded and at least in some context controlled by people they can vote for. Like, they don't fucking understand anything. Like, I'm so sick of it.
It's literally so frustrating. I can't take it anymore.
It's just this ingrained idea that, like, oh, well, one day I can be them. Like, if we start taxing them, if we start placing greater regulations on them, then I'll never have the opportunity to do it. Big dog, you're never going to be that rich.
You will never have $1 billion. You will. Chances are you will never have really over $1 million.
The only people that can ever be billionaires are like fucking sociopaths.
Uh-huh.
And unless you're willing to literally be the worst human possible, you're never going to get there. And even if you are the worst human possible, you're probably going to fail.
Exactly.
Because the system's not set up for everyone to get their take. The system is set up for everyone to be exploited while very few get their take.
But everybody gets to act like them, and they just the fucking hustle grind set dudes just get in there, and they're so fucking loud and so fucking annoying, and they get these little like teenage boys, you know what I mean? And they pull them right in, they suck them in, because it's so easy to want to have money to flex and shit, you know?
I know.
You know, I used to be there. I used to think, let me go trade stocks and shit, and then I grew up.
Yeah. Then I literally went outside.
I touched grass.
I talked to a woman. Like I don't know what else to tell. Like, if you really believe that billionaires work for all of that, then like you're just dumb.
If
like,
you believe that anyone should have $1 billion fucking dollars, fuck you. Like, that's ridiculous. It's an absurd amount of money. Absolutely absurd.
What can I say? Elon Musk, he just works 300,000 times harder than your average minimum wage worker. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
He just works so much harder. Jeff Bezos just works so much harder. They deserve all that money.
Facts.
Elon Musk should just own everything. I mean, if he could buy it, why not?
Why can't Elon Musk buy the government?
Freedom is something to be bought and sold, honestly. It's a commodity.
Oh, God, bro. I love commoditizing everything. Why
Especially
not?
myself.
It'd be more efficient. See, if everything was a commodity, it'd be more efficient because it'd be subject to free market principles, right?
Right.
Like supply and demand, which always works.
It literally does always work. And the only time it doesn't work is when Pete Buttigieg goes on paternity leave.
No, you don't understand. I took Econ 101. I took macro and micro.
True.
Fun fact. So
True.
I know what I'm talking about. I do.
Mm-hmm.
And the free market, it's there. It's there to stay.
Yeah. No, the market's definitely free when someone can just just buy social media platforms. It's definitely a free market.
The free market always works, and that's why you should never be bailed out.
Yeah.
Which will segue us into our next topic.
True.
Student loan forgiveness.
True. Small update on student loan forgiveness. We were talking about this last week. We're saying, Biden really needs to do this. It'll really help his midterm chances. And apparently, bro, listened to the pod and said, this is the worst idea I've ever heard, because he turned around at a press conference. It was a press conference on Ukraine, not even about student loan forgiveness.
Oh, wow. I love it when they just fucking inject things to just disappoint.
It might have been a question he was asked, but at the press conference, he said, quote, I am considering dealing with some debt reduction. I'm not considering $50,000 in debt reduction.
God damn.
So I guess he's just trying to lose. Like,
why shut that down right now? Why shut it down right now?
Yeah, and I have a quote here. I think it was from NPR. They said, quote, his campaign proposal called for immediately canceling $10,000 in student debt per person as a response to the pandemic, as well as forgiving all undergraduate tuition-related federal student debt for those from 2- and 4-year public colleges and universities for borrowers earning up to $125,000 a year. So that would be debt-free college for everybody with families under $125,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's what he promised.
It is.
That hasn't happened, nor will it, apparently, because, if you didn't know, there's a lot of people with families that are making less than $125,000 a year. Lots of students going to college with families making less than $125,000 a year. And it would require probably like $30,000, $40,000 in debt forgiveness for all those people
to better their lives
for this policy to be actualized. It doesn't look like that's going to happen.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it when they just completely – I love it when they keep coming on and you keep getting texts and you keep seeing shitty ads from the Democrats talking about how they really need to keep the Senate. Don't let it flip red. They need to keep the House. They need to keep the Senate. And they do absolutely fucking nothing to make you actually want to go and vote for them.
Okay, here's my thing is like he promised 10,000 on the campaign, right?
Yeah, reasonable amount, I fucking guess.
We've already talked about how that's not nearly enough, how it's not going to have the impact we need it to have. What is the difference between 10,000 and 50,000? Like, not necessarily
40,000 actually.
Yeah, not like optically, but what's the difference like in policy? You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference between you canceling 10,000 and canceling 50,000? If you're able to cancel 10,000, what's stopping you from going farther?
Yeah, if you can just do it, if you can just sign an EO and do it.
Like, there's no rule in the Constitution or anywhere else that says you can only cancel up to this much. There's no rule that's preventing him to going for. So the only answer could be like, I don't want to. I don't know what other excuse he could give other than like, well, 50,000 is just too much. People can figure it out.
I don't like that. Pay your loans, people.
Yeah.
Pay your loans.
I mean,
you took them out when you were 18.
If you wanted to go with the lower number, I guess the symbolic thing would be 37,000 for everyone. That's the average. But like, he's just not. Like, I don't know what to tell y'all if you're a student.
I love it when they fumble the bag.
And after this news came out, of course, there were some of the progressive members of the Democratic Party and Congress were like, well, let's move to pass legislation for this. Which in response, Republican lawmakers said, we're going to pass legislation that makes it so he can't do this.
We're going to pass legislation that increases student debt.
We're adding $10,000.
We're actually increasing your interest rates ex post facto, and it's all going to apply to everything that you've paid before.
Yeah.
It'll be added on top.
And the most popular senator, Mitt Romney, popular on both sides, of course. Everyone loves him. He had something to say on Twitter about this.
Oh, no.
He said, quote, desperate polls call for desperate measures. Dems consider forgiving trillions in student loans. Other bribe suggestions? Forgive auto loans. Forgive credit card debt. Forgive mortgages. And put wealth tax on the super rich to pay for it all. What could possibly go wrong?
Yes. Yeah. That'd be fantastic, Mitt.
In Mitt Romney's world, like in his view of politics, helping people is bribery. Like, no, wait. Doing your job as an elected official, lifting economic burdens off of people is bribery.
Passing bills that help people is bribery.
Like what isn't bribery at that point?
Democrats, they only want to help you because then you're going to vote for them. As if that's not how politics works.
The bro's like mockingly saying that, oh yeah, we should put a wealth tax on the super rich to pay for everything. Like, yes.
Yes.
What do you mean? Like, Mitt Romney just doesn't like helping people, I guess. Like, why are you a politician, big dog? Like,
what does he even do?
Are we doing here?
What are his legislative achievements?
Landmark accomplishment, losing to Barack Obama in 2012. He voted to impeach Trump once.
True.
Let's see, what else did Mitt Romney do? I think he voted for the bipartisan infrastructure deal.
Wow.
Voted for Ketanji Brown Jackson. You'll notice none of these are his accomplishments. They're just kind of things he tacked himself onto. Everything else he still opposes. Like, don't let this guy fool you. I know he gets like a track record of like, oh, well, he's the only reasonable.
Oh, he's a moderate Republican.
Yeah, he votes in line with the party every fucking time. Especially on stuff like this that would just directly help people. So, Mitt Romney sucks. Apparently helping people is bribery now.
So true. Now it's time for the meat and potatoes of the episode.
Exactly.
The Pennsylvania
what we've all been waiting for.
GOP primary debate, baby.
So last week there were actually two debates.
Yes.
But only one of them that we're covering today because only one featured the two frontrunners.
Exactly.
Dr. Mehmet Oz and Dave McCormick. The two leading in the polls right now. The other one featured 5 candidates, which 3 of them were on this debate, and the other 2 were, I think, just like so helplessly behind.
Bottom of the barrel in the polls.
So the debate was composed of 5 candidates, as I said. You had Kathy Barnett, Jeff Bartos, Dave McCormick, Mehmet Oz, and Carla Sands. Like I said, right now, McCormick and Oz are the ones in the lead. I think Kathy Barnett's in 3rd in the polls, and then you have Jeff Bartos and Carla Sands trailing behind.
I think Barnett's like very close behind Oz and McCormick.
And you'll notice, if you watch this along with us to prepare for this section,
it's something.
It was really bad. It was definitely a contest to be like the most unhinged, but I also noticed they were like strangely close together. And I gotta believe that's like an own the libs kind of thing,
No, it's like they were within elbows of each other. You know what I mean? Like you spread it out and they'd be touching.
Yeah.
They'd be touching.
Like usually in debates, they're more spaced out even in like non-pandemic times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they were like right next to each other. Like it had to be, we're doing this to own the libs.
And it's also just like, if you remember the presidential debates, like the 2020 presidential debates and how putrid those are with like the time restrictions and people talking over each other, this format is just so fucking horrible. They had 60 seconds to respond to each question, and if they got called out by another like candidate in that time, they would have 15 or 30 seconds to rebut. That is not enough time to actually like have a conversation about fucking anything, right?
Yeah.
So it very quickly devolved into you can say the most racist, not racist thing, who can say the most xenophobic but not a xenophobic thing, or strictly xenophobic, as we get to this one quote by Dr. Oz that I put down here, and just who can spew the most talking points. It's insane.
It was made even worse because for, I don't know, 95% of the debate, they weren't actually talking about anything substantive.
Oh no, they were just calling out each other or Dr. Oz.
Yeah, they were either like doing call outs of each other, or they were like just being insane.
Oh, or they just wouldn't answer the fucking question. It's wild.
Yeah, off the bat, first question was, why are you running for Pennsylvania Senate?
Oh, yeah,
and that was like that was the big centerpiece question, because Dr. Oz and McCormick were both people that haven't been in Pennsylvania for very long. I think they said McCormick just reached the required residency, like whatever the number of years you have to say, 14 or something like that. You have to be a resident of a state for like 14 years to run for Senate, and he just hit that apparently.
He said he lived there until he turned 18 or something, like he had lived there throughout his childhood, and I guess he's just coming back.
So one of the big contentions was like, well, Oz and McCormick, they don't actually care about Pennsylvania. And right off the bat, Dr. Oz, when he gets his like opening section kind of thing, he's like, Trump loves me.
Trump absolutely
endorsed
loves
me.
Me and Trump, we get together all the time.
Yeah, because they were asked something like, why are there so many negative attack ads? And Oz was like, well, McCormick's just mad because Trump endorsed me and not him. And that's honestly what Oz relied on the entire debate.
Every single time he would fall back on the Trump endorsement. That's the only thing he had.
Yeah, and I gotta believe it's like solidarity between reality show hosts. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it's gotta be. Like, because, I mean, the more insane people that get elected, the more Trump can feel like good about himself.
Dr. Oz went up to him and he's like, yeah, I was actually a really big fan of The Apprentice. And he's like, oh, this guy fucks.
This guy knows. And in response, McCormick said some shit like Oz is like pro-China or something. And then McCormick said, I served in the military for 10 years fighting communists.
That was just the first unhinged quote that made me do a fucking double take.
Yeah.
And it's like, one, this dude just looks like he served in the army. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was his fucking makeup throughout this debate particularly, but he looked like a wax figurine. You can't convince me he's a real fucking person. He looks like he was engineered in a lab to be the perfect cross between fucking politician and army guy.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he would have said some anti-Asian slurs in his day.
Oh,
for sure.
My God. He looks like he still does.
Like, he probably would have pulled a John McCain, like, did some slurs towards some Vietnamese people.
He looks like he would get up there and he'd be like, yeah, I think what Mark Wahlberg did in like 2008 was actually okay.
Literally. He's like, well, I mean, he was justified in doing it.
What's wrong with that?
But then we got into like the real topics.
Yeah.
The first question was on abortion and abortion exceptions. And Dr. Oz was the first asked about this. And he really didn't give an answer. He just started going off about Dave McCormick, I think. And then he said that everyone on the stage is actually pro-choice. He's the only candidate that's pro-life. And he like wouldn't talk about exceptions for a little while, but then eventually the moderator was like, "Okay, well, be clear. Are you in favor of exceptions or not?"
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Yeah, I guess I'm for exceptions."
He's like, yes, he said explicitly for the life of the mother, and I think McCormick said the same thing. But every other candidate was just say, "Yeah, I'm for exceptions," and I just want to highlight here how. None of them could explicitly come out and say that they're for an exception for rape, even if they are, because somehow that is optically bad right now. If you're a conservative, it is optically bad to say that, yeah, sure, I'm pro-life, except in the case of rape.
Yeah.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. The bar is in less than hell. I don't even know like how to describe this.
Whatever's below hell, yeah.
Whatever's below hell, the bar is there and maybe even under.
Somehow it's gotten to the point where you can't say there should be exceptions.
Like the other three wouldn't even say, they just said exceptions. They wouldn't clarify whether or not it's for the mother, for rape, for any other reason, underage, nothing. Nothing. It is politically bad to be a conservative and to think that you can't. It's absurd.
Especially within the context of the Ohio bill that we just talked about. It's like, once you become pregnant, you're not a human being.
What's the fucking, what does the world come to?
You are merely a vessel for a new human to be born that the Republicans then won't give a fuck about, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking Mean Gene says you can give it to a loving family member or you can put it up for adoption.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can go through a shitty fucking adoption system again?
That Republicans don't want to fix.
Like, God damn.
Yeah.
Isn't Ohio the same place that made, no, it was a different, there's so many fucked abortion bills. There was another place that made it so that there's stricter requirements for a judge to like give consent to an underage person getting an abortion. We covered it like 2 weeks ago.
Was it Oklahoma?
It might have been Oklahoma. Too many O's. All these shitty states just get mushed together in my mind.
No, it's true. And then, of course, McCormick the whole time trying to paint Oz as a flip-flopper, which I think he probably is. Dr. Oz, I think, has lots of recordings 100% where he's just publicly been pro-abortion.
Doug, it's like, I don't understand where this just Senate run came out of. The only thing I remember about Dr. Oz, like, throughout my life and his show is, I swear it's a core memory of me just playing in the living room when I was a child, and his TV was just on in the back, like his show was on in the background, and in front of him are 3 pieces of actual human shit. And he's showing you, and he's trying to teach you, like, what it means when it's red. He's like, oh, when it's red, it means there's blood in your shit, whatever. When it's green, it means this, and when it's brown, this is healthy. And that imagery kind of reminds me of the imagery that I saw throughout this whole fucking debate. There are 5 pieces of actual human shit on here just spewing garbage.
Yeah. And then this was kind of a constant theme throughout the whole debate was Kathy Barnett. Kept giving just non-answers, like actually just saying nonsense. The first thing she said was MAGA belongs to all of us. What the fuck does that mean?
She was asked what America First means to you, because they all said they're America First candidates. They were fucking attacking each other for it. I'm pretty sure what was the white lady?
Carla Sands.
Yeah. She looked at Dr. Oz and she goes, he's not America First. He is Turkey First and China First. And David McCormick is China First. Yeah. His company does business in China.
She said that about the abortion question too. She looks at Oz and say he's Turkish. He's Turkish first, not America first. First of all, just gotta say, Carla Sands cannot win. Because she looks too much like Hillary Clinton.
She looks too much. She literally looks like a cross between Hillary Clinton and Trump. I swear to God, she did her hair just to emulate Trump in this debate. It's wild.
That's heat. The moderator then asked, and I think this one might have been one of my favorite questions.
Okay.
Moderator asks, how are you going to bring back outsourced jobs? A real problem affecting real people.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a big thing. Neoliberalism, deregulation. A lot of people have lost their jobs. Lots of service industry jobs in the United States. Not a lot of manufacturing jobs anymore. Been a real trend the last few decades.
Oh, yeah.
And Barnett opens up. And remember, I said she's just speaking nonsense. She opens up, has no real answer, but says that the loss of jobs and the trouble that we've had with the supply chain crisis is Pete Buttigieg's fault. Because he took paternity leave.
That's right, baby. That's right.
Out the gate, just openly anti-LGBTQ.
She said something like, there's a bunch of ships docked outside the port of LA that are being filled. Pete Buttigieg needs to do, what the fuck are you going to do? Make the dock workers work even more than 24/7? Yeah, which they already are.
Wasn't the supply chain crisis in part caused because there was like a blockage in the Suez Canal?
Yeah,
something like that. Wasn't that like too. In Egypt or something?
That was a part of it. It's generally just like regular COVID things. Currently, it's being exacerbated by Greg Abbott at the southern border.
Yeah.
So that's why nobody mentioned that, though. I wonder why.
Yeah, I know. And then about outsourced jobs, Bartos said that he's going to bring back jobs by digging up natural gas instead of coal and oil. Which,
yeah.
He was trying to make, like, I guess, like, at this point, it's centrist, even though it fucking shouldn't be. It should be a right-wing idea completely. Considered to be centrist. He was saying, like, we need to get away from our reliance on coal and oil and move towards clean natural gas.
Yeah.
Which is cleaner, technically, than coal and oil, but still not great for the environment in a number of ways. But he said that's how he's going to bring back jobs. Get people mining for natural gas.
And I know, like, energy is a big topic in Pennsylvania. Like, specifically, energy is huge. And so Dr. Oz McCormick and I think the rest of them all explicitly said, yeah, we just need a frack. We just need to just open up the wells and start fucking fracking.
I think at one point Bartos said that we have 2 Saudi Arabias underneath the United States.
She said we need to supply all the oil for ourselves and the rest of the world so that Europe doesn't have to depend on Russian oil. They love shoehorning in other countries just in any way that they fucking can.
Anytime there's like some national feeling or national negative feeling against a country, a Republican will always bring them up.
Always.
Every single, like, it was in this debate, it was China and Russia specifically.
And Turkey.
Oh yeah, of course. And then Carla Sands, doing the classic Republican thing and just saying something ahistorical. So that to bring back outsourced jobs, she's going to deregulate more.
I love
She says we need to deregulate so that jobs come back. And if you don't know, that is literally explicitly why jobs left in America beginning in the 70s is because corporations started to realize that, they didn't want to actually protect workers in the United States.
Yeah.
It was getting expensive to produce in the United States because, labor unions were a thing.
Yeah.
So they fled.
Exactly.
And because
they got out of there.
Markets were deregulated around the world, and the U.S. set up things like the IMF, et cetera, World
And
Trade
cost of
Organization.
living was just cheaper, so you could justify paying cheaper slave wages.
So big corporations like GM, all the big car companies, fled the United States, and they started producing elsewhere because it was more affordable for them to do. And deregulating further is not going to help people. The only way you could bring back jobs back without challenging capitalism is just like slavery. Like that's the only way you can do it, is because corporations are only going to come if they can pay people as little as possible. And the only way you can get them to come back without being anti-capitalist is to just subject workers to torment and toil for days and hours and days on end.
It's fucking her answer is essentially make America great by bringing the sweatshops here.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what it is. That's what these people mean when they say bring all these manufacturing jobs back.
Yeah.
It's like they want just shitty conditions over here because they're all anti-fucking union. That's all that they want.
The only way to bring back capital to the United States, because like I mentioned,
bring on manufacturing.
Yeah, the manufacturing jobs are gone. It's just there's a giant service industry sector here in the United States now. Jobs that are very unfulfilling that people don't really like. The only way to really bring those jobs back is to lower your worker protections, the little worker protections we already have. Because like in Detroit, for example, a lot of jobs left because the unions were getting so strong, because people really started to push back because conditions were really fucking bad. Yeah. So then all the companies left the city. And that's not to say like, oh, well, protection should be like the workers should just suck it up and take it. We need to find a way to regulate that shit.
Absolutely. But the thing about it, the thing that's so fucked about it is conservatives will invoke that. They'll say we need to bring manufacturing back here. And the people who are the children of the people who lost their jobs when capital flight happened and manufacturing moved overseas, or the people who are still alive that did lose their jobs, a lot of them are fucking conservative now, and they hear that, and they hear that from the conservatives, and they think, oh, it's going to be just like it was back then. Without also realizing that they and the party that they're supporting in this is anti-union, and that the only reason it was good back then, the only reason you had a fat pension back then and protections and good hours, better hours, is because of the unions.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't bring those jobs back without the unions.
Yeah. Yeah, the only reason that like working conditions have ever really improved is because of labor unions and like collective action activists and stuff like that.
It's not the market.
That's the only reason. But because capital is so mobile now, it can just fuck off whenever it doesn't like the conditions, abandon all of its buildings and move out to the suburbs where people are racist and won't want to unionize with black people.
Kellogg,
that's all that they do.
Kellogg can literally in the strike that was going on can threaten to move all their jobs to Mexico like they did in October of last year.
Yeah, Nestle can employ slave labor.
In the Nestle, fucking Tesla, back to Elon Musk, who's also being investigated for the use of child labor in the Congo. Crazy.
Yeah, no, like,
crazy.
This is what capitalism is. And any attempt to bring jobs back just requires you to force your citizens to suffer. Unless you're going to undertake a global effort to regulate capital so that it can't just fucking flee whenever it wants. It has to work at the behest of people. You can't really do anything, and I don't even think that that's possible. Like, how are you going to get fucking global cooperation in regulating capitalism? We can't even get it. We can't even get a wealth tax here. Like, it's just not going to happen. So Carlos Sands, maybe to your surprise, doesn't know much about economics.
The other thing about Carla Sands that just got me every fucking time that it was her turn to talk is she would look directly into the camera. And it's the most politician-y fucking thing to do, right? She'd look directly in the camera would just cut her, it's only her, and she'd be just staring soullessly. It felt like she was looking right into me.
Well, you know what I thought was really funny?
What?
She brought this up several times, and I think I have it in the show notes somewhere. She kept saying over and over, I was the ambassador to Denmark.
Oh my God, yeah.
She kept going, well, as the ambassador to Denmark. Like, that's not a real position.
She tried to do what Dr. Oz was doing with the Trump endorsement. She said, when Trump appointed me to ambassador, I have the security experience needed to do this job, to be a state senator.
That is the most out-of-touch thing I've ever heard. Like, you were in Denmark while people here were dealing with a pandemic.
Yeah, she mentioned that, too. Like, it was a good thing.
Like, you are so incredibly out of touch with your own voters. If you think that saying, I was the ambassador to Denmark is going to convince anyone that you should be elected to the Senate, people already perceive their politicians, correctly so, rightfully so. They already perceive their politicians to be out of touch.
Oh, for sure.
And not in line with what they actually want out
That's
of them.
why people like John Jones have to spend a significant portion of their campaign saying that they're not career politicians. And that's why you should elect them.
Oh, John James? You said
Yes.
John Jones. Yeah.
John James. So sorry.
But yeah, no, like I was the ambassador to Denmark. I think that's just hilarious. Anyway, McCormick goes on talking about jobs again, outsourced jobs.
Yeah.
He kept saying, he said this over and over.
He said, I'm a job creator.
I created 600 jobs. Shut the fuck up. You did not do anything for Pennsylvania's economy. Wow. You created 16 jobs where you probably paid your workers $11 an hour.
Dog shit. You probably paid them the least that you could for the most work.
Bro's literally, like, he made, like, the same amount of jobs that the Keystone XL pipeline was going to deliver. Like, it's fucking stupid. And he also, of course, kept talking about how he served in the military. Like,
and how fracking is the key to the future. He's fighting communists, even though when was the last time we actually fought communists?
Yeah. No, literally. And then, of course, again, when talking about outsourced jobs, Oz relies on the Trump endorsement. And then he kept getting criticized for, like, secretly being a liberal and supporting, like, deals like NAFTA and shit like that. And he was like, no, Trump supported me. And then he had a funny line.
Oh, yeah, he's talking about energy, right?
Talking about energy and, like, fracking and stuff like that. He said, we don't need a Green New Deal. It won't bring back jobs. It's a liberal lie, just like COVID.
He said, I'm a scientist.
Yeah. I love it when they lie.
No, same. Like, I'm a scientist too, buddy.
Yeah. And then the moderator said, also a pretty interesting question, what Biden policy needs to be reversed? The moderators were really trying to get something of substance out of these people.
There were only like 2 fucking answers to this question.
Yeah.
Everyone else just started talking.
Yeah, Barnett, of course, had no real answer except saying, like, wages have stagnated and the middle class is suffering. Like, yeah.
Wild thought.
Obviously, middle class has been suffering for a very long time.
What a good insight. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, she was saying some shit like, well, wages have stagnated over the time. I was like, yeah, I wonder why. I wonder what produces wages. You know what I wonder if,
I wonder who opposes the minimum wage.
That's what I was just
with
going to say.
100% like success rate.
Yeah, I wonder why the minimum wage has not raised in, I don't know, more than 10 years.
Yeah.
And even then, it was pretty low, $7.25, like not very high.
There was somebody who said, I think it was Carla, who said under Trump, we saw like a huge increase in wages. But not, yes, we did, but not real wages.
Yeah.
Like real wages, people actually were making less money adjusted for inflation. I think we talked about that like 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So again, lie, deny.
Yeah, and which party, like, ubiquitously is against labor unions? Like, it's the Republican Party. Like, the Democrats, because they're not really a left-wing party, are usually not very pro-worker anyway. But, like, the Republican Party is just explicitly anti-worker.
Oh, yeah.
They're just, like, explicitly pro-capital. So you gotta absolutely love that. Bardos goes on to say that the American Rescue Plan was a disaster.
Wow.
Which is the only good thing Joe Biden has done so far.
The American Rescue Plan was a disaster. The plan that really just continued the things that were started under Trump, but when Trump gave people free money, it wasn't a disaster.
Of course.
And people are still getting free money even though unemployment isn't there.
Yeah.
Even though all the good things from the plan are gone.
Yeah, his big thing was saying, like, well, the Biden administration paid people to stay home.
Yeah.
Even though the Biden administration is the administration that unemployment benefits ended under. And the eviction moratorium ended under. So I don't really know what he's complaining about.
Crazy.
And he kept saying, like, oh, well, we can't find any employees. These small Pennsylvania businesses, they can't find employees. We pay people to stay home. It's like, pay them more. I don't know what to tell you.
It's like, just with Bartos in general, he was the most normal conservative that was on that stage, right? Sure. And I just thought it's funny. He doesn't stand a fucking chance.
No.
He absolutely does not stand a chance. Everything he was saying, his rhetoric was just Joe Biden rhetoric. Like, he literally just jocked his whole flow.
Yeah.
You know, he was like, yeah, I'm from Main Street. He did the Joe Biden thing. He's not going to fucking win.
No, he's not going to. Even if he is actually from Main Street, even if he's like being, like he's genuine in his belief of conservative principles, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Even if he actually believes all that stuff, there's no chance.
Oh, he's not fucking exciting.
No.
He's not funny to cover.
No, exactly.
McCormick is. Oz is.
Speaking of funny to cover, Carla Sands said that she would stop the out of control spending as soon as she's in Washington. And she said she looked directly into the camera, making eye contact, like looking into my soul. Could see through me, directly through me.
Literally every time she gets on there, she's I will do this.
Carla Sands, she said Carla Sands is going to bring down the price at the pump. I love lying.
Dude, it's just the Republican Party, they just literally have their whole base wrapped around their fucking finger, and they can just lie.
Yeah. Oz said that the one Biden policy he would overturn or reverse is Biden's executive order that made it so no new drilling is happening on federal lands, saying that, like, oh, we need to keep fracking and stuff like that.
He said these lands belong to all of us, and that's why we should fucking destroy them.
Yeah. I've said this before on the pod, but just want to make a note again. There's more drilling for oil being done on federal lands today than there was under the Trump administration. Companies just haven't used up all the permits that have been given out. The Biden executive order said we're not going to give any new permits, but there's still some of the old permits that haven't been taken up.
I'm pretty sure oil companies, it was their strategy to literally buy as many as they could whenever they were available.
Yeah, exactly.
And just let the land sit.
Also, when we're talking about like fracking permits and stuff like that, those are long-term impacts on gas prices. Just issuing new permits, like if Biden did it right now, gas prices would not fucking change.
Oh, they also have no fucking concept of time. There's another fantastic quote that we're going to get to when we talk to Title 42 from Carla. That's just insane.
Yeah.
So look forward to that.
Yeah. And then Carla Sands started going to she dived deep into being assigned as ambassador to Denmark, of course, the very real position that does a lot of work. And she claimed that makes her a real supporter of America first because she was in Denmark.
Exactly. And Dr. Oz, he was in the Turkish military for 2 months for like selective service because he was obligated to.
And this was really interesting, this little piece on Carla Sands, because you know, typically when there's it's a multi-candidate field, you have talks about electability, like who can go on to beat the person that will eventually face, right? And typically as a part of those conversations, it's like, well, what elections have you won? But what we're seeing right now is that candidates running in GOP primaries can't call other people out on losing their previous election. Like they can't say, for example, Barnett can't win because she lost in 2020 because they keep claiming 2020 is fraudulent.
That was that's got to be up there for one of the funniest just interactions throughout this whole debate, because Carla called out Barnett for losing. She said she lost by 20 points, and then she clarified immediately. She said she lost by 20 points. There wasn't 20 points of fraud. Yeah. She had to say that, and so Barnett immediately fucking clapped back.
Like, you can't really make that distinction because we've seen Republicans try to do it. Like, for example, like the Republicans that won in Georgia, like Marjorie Taylor Greene won her race in Georgia in 2020. She was saying there was election fraud in Georgia because it turned blue, but there isn't election fraud for her race. Yeah. Like you can't.
As if most people vote split ticket.
Right, exactly. Like it's so fucking goofy because you had Carla Sands here trying to call out Barnett for losing her previous election, a typical thing that candidates do. Yeah. But she can't call out Barnett for losing her election because she also has to believe that it's a fraudulent election, or else she's going against Donald Trump and she's going to get washed.
Because Barnett immediately clapped back saying, oh, so you think that there was no voter fraud? And then Carla had to go in like, oh, there was voter fraud. There just wasn't that much voter fraud. And your race wasn't a fraud, but the Trump race was a fraud.
Like, it just shows you that they know that there was no fucking voter fraud. They know that Donald Trump lost the election. They know that Joe Biden was the rightful winner, that there was, no funny business really going on at all. But they still want to try to accuse their opponents of losing while also believing in the public eye that there was voter fraud, because all their voters think that there was. Yeah. It goes to show you that maybe you shouldn't fucking lie.
And also, while Carla would attack Oz just like everyone else, she was specifically like heavily just attacking everything Barnett said. And I gotta believe that was racially motivated. Yeah. You cannot convince me it wasn't.
Kathy Barnett is the only black person running in the election.
I saw somebody in the comments of the YouTube video say she reminds me of Candace Owens, and that's awesome. That's why I like her. No, she said she's smart like Candace Owens.
Oh, no. Oh my God, just microaggressions. That's not good. That's not good at all. And then Dr. Oz butted in. He put it in here and said, I like Trump so much because he respected people. And, when I think of Donald Trump, the first thing that comes to mind is how much he respected other people.
That's just fantastic.
He famously didn't tell the squad to go back to their home country. He was always very nice to people that disagreed with him.
He famously routinely didn't just bully reporters.
Yes. He didn't have just a visceral hate for the fucking
media. He didn't make fun of a disabled reporter that one time.
Yeah. He didn't hold a rally that literally killed Herman Cain or anything like that. So, yeah, when I think of Trump, it's respect.
That's right. Respect. That's right. And then Dr. Oz quickly followed that up by saying this quote. He said, quote, "What President Trump did was respect people who had been othered, forgotten, and canceled. People who felt they had been pushed out of the way and forgotten by a federal government that pretended to help. I love how this dude just threw in canceled to let us know that he's talking about middle-class white people.
Yeah.
You know, because in this statement, right, he's using this like Bernie-style rhetoric to try to appeal to the working class. But just the fact that canceled in there just really gives the game away. Because usually when a Republican tries to say this, when like someone like Tucker Carlson is talking about working class people like me and you, they're co-opting left-wing rhetoric. Because that's the type of rhetoric that galvanizes people who don't vote.
Right.
It's the type of rhetoric that gets to the heart of material issues. Because there's a connotation that, like, when Bernie says it, when a politician like Bernie says something like that, he's talking about a $15 minimum wage. Yeah. He's talking about Medicare for all and things like that. So when a Republican co-ops this rhetoric, it serves two different bases. They get to just, on face value, appeal to those working class people. Yeah. And it gets them invigorated, riled up, because it's an emotional appeal. And they also get to kind of clue in their upper middle class white base who is too far removed from those issues because of the policies that they enact. Right. When people like Ron DeSantis enact policies like the CRT math textbooks and the parental rights and education bills, like all those shitty bills, they get to, when they do that and then use that kind of rhetoric, those people, the upper middle class white people, get to think, oh, they're talking about me. I'm the one who's been forgotten because it's bad to be white now, right? And then they also turn around and reaffirm the idea that, yeah, black people are racist to you. It's bad to be white and Christians are discriminated against. Yeah. So whenever they get to use just this working class rhetoric, just know it serves two purposes. And it doesn't mean what it means when a left-wing candidate like Bernie or AOC or anyone else says that.
Yeah. No, and that just, it goes to show you the weakness of neoliberal politics, because when you are confronted, or I guess just in the absence of actual critiques from the left for working class people, actual critiques of the economy, and just like in many cases, for someone like Hillary Clinton, for example, blatant support of deals and policies that just hurt working class people, right-wingers are able to make these kinds of arguments.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because, like, if you put it alongside a left-wing candidate who is actually advocating for things like $15 minimum wage, stronger unions, universal health care, paid maternity leave, that kind of thing, right-wingers can't say this stuff. Because, like, okay, they'll say, like, oh, I'll prioritize working class people, but what policies do they offer?
That's just exactly what I'm getting at. They're prioritizing working class people is lip to get actual working class people to vote for them. Yeah. And to the actual people who want to vote for them, the upper middle class racist white people, they think that they're talking about just them being able to say slurs and them being able to be mean to black people. You know what I mean?
That's why these things are so successful, because if the left had actually, you know, in like 2016 or even in more recent years, been prepared to offer those critiques, the right wing can't do this. Like, they just have to expose themselves for being the pro-capitalism, pro-corporate party. Yeah. But because the left doesn't really offer any of these solutions, and because Biden and the Democratic Senate hasn't done much of anything, they can't participate in this kind of discourse because the right can just co-opt any of the narratives they want.
And piggybacking off of that, another quote that came up pretty often was, Democrats pretend to help you, which is true. But their solution is, I as a conservative just won't help, but it's okay to be white. Yeah. Like, that's what it is. Their policy is Democrats pretend to help.
Yeah. And like when Dr. Oz said that like Trump had been there for people that felt othered and forgotten, he's right. Yeah. He made that appeal because Democrats for a long time have fully brought into neoliberalism and deregulation and policies that hurt the working class. So people were feeling forgotten about. People were feeling othered. And that left an opening for an authoritarian like Donald Trump to come in and say, well, I'm going to be the person that supports you, that delivers for you. But instead of blaming the issues on capitalism, he blamed all of the problems on brown people crossing the border. Yeah. Or Muslims coming into the country. Or them, the other, taking away our culture.
He literally just using white replacement theory.
Exactly. Like, they lie. Like, it's lying nonsense. But because the left isn't there to stop them to do it, they get to do it as much as they want.
And because the left doesn't fucking push back. I saw a clip on TikTok the other day. It was Pete Buttigieg on Breakfast Club, right? Yeah. And every single question that Charlemagne would ask him, Charlemagne asked, like, people feel like Democrats haven't gotten anything done. And he goes, oh, really? Well, we actually passed a historic infrastructure legislation. Nobody gives a fuck. I'm sorry, but like my mom, who doesn't really follow politics like that, isn't gonna fucking care that Democrats pass an infrastructure bill. They're important, but you gotta do more.
Yeah.
You have to.
I think the growth of the right really across the world has been really interesting because I was reading a little bit on the France elections, right?
Oh no, Le Pen?
Yeah, and you had Emmanuel Macron, who is very firmly in the center, basically on the right, but he's a neoliberal, basically. Like, nobody actually thinks he's fighting for working class people. He sucks. But then you had Marie Le Pen, who is literally just a white nationalist.
Yeah.
But you also had her saying things like, I want to raise the minimum wage by 10%. I want to get rid of all income taxes for working class people because they're taking on too much of an economic burden. Emmanuel Macron doesn't have any answer to that.
I just happen to want to get all the Muslims out of the country.
Oh, yeah. And she also said, like, I want to ban the wearing of hijabs in public.
I think they already did.
Well, I don't know if they did completely. Did they?
I thought they passed that. Yeah.
She was saying that like she wants to like fix the immigration problem and ban the wearing of hijabs totally, or maybe it was just like ban worship practices for Muslims.
Probably because I'm pretty sure the hijabs were banned, which is absolutely fucked and just plays into racist stereotypes.
Yeah, and I'm like reading news stories about her, looking at her platform, and I'm perplexed because it's like she claims to want to help working class people, but is also just violently racist. She said multiculturalism has failed. And it made me think like fascism, because it's what she is. Like, this is like
she's a fucking Nazi,
or like proto-fascist rhetoric, like proto-fascist, whatever you want to call them. These right-wing authoritarians, they only succeed because economic conditions are so bad, and people feel so forgotten about by the mainstream parties that they are willing to turn to somebody else because the actual left doesn't have any real power to offer them critiques that will really help them.
Yeah.
Or offer solutions that will really help these people. So these people feeling vulnerable, feeling othered, feeling forgotten about, will look at someone like Marie Le Pen or Donald Trump or Dr. Oz and think like, wow, these people are fighting for me. Also, maybe brown people are scary.
Yeah.
And then they just become white nationalists.
No, in fact, it's just like what I was getting at in the cold open. All those things that she was saying, that person who's running for Georgia governor, are things that people feel and are things that people are thinking, and it gets that visceral reaction out of them. You know what I mean? That's why it's like that shit's gas to them.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That is like crack.
Yeah. No, and they have these like economic policies that appear to help the working class people, like raising the minimum wage, for example. They don't actually want to do any of that. They're just saying it because they know their opponent can't rebut with anything. Because someone like Emmanuel Macron, for example, isn't going to offer any real critique of capitalism because he loves neoliberalism. He loves deregulation. He loves the European Union and all the things that like working class people in France, or, you know, you could put this onto America as well. Working class people hate in general because they feel oppressed by it. They feel like they're being forgotten about by elites that don't care about them.
No, and it brings me back to the Breakfast Club interview with Pete Buttigieg. He said, well, the job's not finished. We still have a lot of work to do. You haven't fucking done anything. And you're not going to be able to fucking do anything after the midterms when you lose the Senate and you lose the House. I don't understand. They have such a fucking disdain for the working class people that put them in office. They can't do anything to help them. And when they're pressed about it, Pete Buttigieg didn't even attack Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. He didn't even attack the Republicans. Charlemagne had to bring that up. Fucking Charlemagne the God had to say, well, a lot of it is the Republicans who are just not voting for anything. And Pete is like, yes, of course, that's the thing, but our job's not finished. We are passing historic infrastructure bills.
Oh my God.
I am not a CIA plant.
Oh man. The left is so weak, just like around the world. It's just fertile breeding ground for authoritarians to take power.
Neoliberalism is a fucking cancer.
Yeah.
It is.
Like Marie Le Pen lost her election, but came closer than she ever has to winning.
Came scarily close to winning.
Yeah.
God
like
damn.
It's awful. And you may say like, well, who gives a fuck about France? And it's like, yeah, I know. Like, nobody, it doesn't really have any impact in America. But it's just like, it's not just in France, the United States. I mean, you have people like Viktor Orban in, was it Hungary, rising to power, just very clearly a fascist.
Yeah.
I mean, you had our own Donald Trump rising to power with the same arguments that all other authoritarians are using, because again, the left doesn't really offer anything. The mainstream left, I mean, like, of course,
Democrats.
Of
course, we're fucking fantastic.
Yeah, naturally. But like parties like the Democratic Party, the neoliberals, fully bought into what is very clearly causing harm for working class people, which allows right-wingers to position themselves as the working class heroes when they're and allows them to position themselves as pro-democracy. When they're very obviously not.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to fix our election laws. We're going to prevent fraud. We're going to save democracy, save free speech. Like, they don't give a fuck about any of that.
It's also back to the free speech grift.
Like,
they don't give a shit about free speech.
It is such a massive failure of the left that these people can say, like, I'm pro-free speech. I'm pro your civil liberties. I'm pro-freedom. Like, they don't fucking care about any of that.
Yeah.
And I blame the Democratic Party.
100%. Yeah, it's their fault.
Back to the Republican Party, though.
Oh, yeah. Back to the primary.
The moderator asked if it's time to move on from 2020. Ooh. He asked, 2020's passed. We're still talking about voter fraud. 2022 elections are coming up. Is it time to move on from 2020 yet? Yeah. Bardos, the guy in last, of course. The not Main
Street.
The,
fucking moderate guy, kinda.
Main Street, Pennsylvania native.
The Mitt Romney.
Yeah, the Mitt Romney of the group. He said, 2020, is awful, but Joe Biden's the president now. We just need to accept that, which immediately lost him 12 points in the upcoming polls, I'm sure.
Everybody else just hammered in the fact that, no, we should not forget. We should not let the Democrats get away with this.
Yeah, Carla Sands said we can't forget. And then she also directly cited Dinesh D'Souza.
That was so funny.
And she said that Mark Zuckerberg changed the outcome of the election by using Facebook to change the results, as if Facebook isn't purely a conservative platform.
As if Facebook didn't radicalize your boomer dad.
Yeah, no, Facebook is literally just breeding ground for QAnon groups.
Yeah.
That's what it was before that. Facebook was used to organize the insurrection.
How many fucking left-wing groups are really active on Facebook, of all places?
Right, I love how conservatives will be mad about Twitter because liberal ideas they claim to be getting platformed more. Uh-huh. They'll say liberals have a lot more followers. Liberals are getting all the attention. And then on Facebook, a social media platform that they basically own, it's extremist groups getting organized.
It's actual fucking Nazis.
On Twitter, you'll hear people say we need universal health care. You'll see, Ben Shapiro gets destroyed clips or whatever. And then on Facebook, it's just Nazis.
Twitter did not organize a fucking genocide in Myanmar.
Yeah, literally.
So,
yeah, I don't know if it's this. Maybe they're not literally the same thing. And then, of course, Dave McCormick did the typical 2020 was fraudulent. Oz said we cannot move on. Then he also said that the changes to election laws, the ones that made voting more accessible, mind you, extensions to early voting, extensions or making absentee voting more accessible, that kind of thing. The type of voting that Trump tried to undermine. He said that changes to the election laws were draconian.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows what draconian means.
No, not at all, bro. I swear to God, if these people could have their perfect world, you could only vote on Sunday mornings after church for an hour, and that's it.
Unless you're a black church, then they would close all polls nearby.
Unless somehow the package was intercepted. Oh no, you didn't get your ballots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because what the fuck is wrong with early voting? So what if someone can vote 2 weeks earlier? So what if somebody can mail in their fucking ballot?
Yeah, and it's it helps their base too. You think old people okay. A lot of old people vote Republican.
All those fucking retirees in Florida?
Yeah.
They carry the state.
You think they're going to go to the polls?
Mm-hmm.
They mail vote. They don't drive anymore. They can't even fucking see. They're just listening to Fox News all the day. Or the entire day. They have to mail in vote.
That's the only sensory perception that they fucking get.
Right.
Is Brett Baer in their ear.
Yeah, and then they have literal wars against absentee voting, and then they're well, how did Joe Biden get 95% of the absentee ballots? That's insane. There must be fraud.
That
no,
can't happen.
Your candidate was just 100% against absentee ballots. That's why.
Love it. I love it so much.
Fucking idiots. And then, of course, the rest of them said, we can't move on from 2020. And then, of course, Carla Sands goes back to Barnett lost her fair election, but Trump lost his unfair election.
That's right.
So basically, don't put her in charge because she can't get elected. Naturally. Next question was, what are you going to do to ensure that nothing like the pandemic ever happens again? And this is where we got some wild answers. Carla Sands, just learning the word draconian, said that our lockdown methods were draconian.
She heard it from Dr. Oz. That's a good one. Note that. Write that down.
She heard that word and said, I got to use that in the next answer that I give. And then again, she said that she went to Denmark and saw their lockdown methods. They were much better, blah, 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 blah. She also said that COVID was controlled by the CCP.
That's fucking insane.
And that Democrats invited people from Wuhan to come into the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fun. I don't even know what critique to give there. McCormick, being a very calm conservative, said that we need no more mask mandates, no more vaccine mandates, which I guess he's getting what he wanted.
I love how all of the rhetoric surrounding this is pointed at government overreach. Government overreach is what did all this, is what caused all this harm, what caused businesses to fail and you to be sad, not the fucking virus.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that there was a pandemic. It's the fact that the government responded to the pandemic in a way that they thought would best help public health. That's what made everything bad. not the virus.
Yeah,
but the virus is also from China.
Yeah, of course.
So
that's an important note. It came from China. It was engineered in a lab with.
I'm surprised
Dr.
it
Fauci.
wasn't engineered in a lab in Turkey by Dr. Oz.
Dr. Oz was actually there with Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates when they manufactured the virus.
That's another thing. One of them in their answer looked at Dr. Oz and said, Dr. Oz said this guy was a good doctor. And Dr. Oz had to respond by saying, no, I actually called for Dr. Fauci to be fired.
I love it. But our analysis last week was literally correct, and we said it's just going to be a competition for who can be the most fucking crazy. Like the Democrats, it's always who can get elected, who can beat the Republican. Having the seat be blue is what's most important.
Yeah, no,
but for them, it's just who can be fucking insane.
At least there's some diversity at least a little bit of diversity of ideas within like Democratic primaries, as little as there is. Here, the diversity of ideas is the extent to which you can get away with being racist and xenophobic.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to talk about the Title 42 stuff.
And then Dr. Oz, he said that the government response was top-down authoritarian. But then he praised Trump for Operation Warp Speed, of course.
Naturally.
No mental contradiction there. And then Barrett gets into COVID does not trump the United States Constitution. That's what she said.
Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, here's just a shining example of radical fucking constitutionalism. Yeah. I swear to God, if it was written in the Constitution that when you turn 30, you need to eat shit and literally fucking die, they would do it. No, they wouldn't do it, but they would encourage their supporters to go do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's all this really is. None of them give a shit about the Constitution, but they invoke it to get you to kind of care a little more than they do. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Yeah, and then Barnett gets into like a little bit more on like you shouldn't have to take the jab if you don't want to. You shouldn't have to wear a mask if you don't want to. When I'm sure everyone on that stage had been vaccinated already. Like in compliance
I'm sure they
with
had
regulations.
To be.
Yeah.
Because somebody attacked McCormick. They said you had a mask mandate in your business that you employed 600 people at.
Got him
right
He's
there.
got stepped down.
That dropped him down 5 points.
And then she said Barnett said that Democrats put their foot on our children and on our businesses.
Oh, shit.
And then she started calling them globalists. And she said McCormick and Oz were a part of the World Economic Forum, which, by the way, if you don't know, the World Economic Forum is like a big thing in QAnon circles, apparently.
Oh, yeah?
It's like a big thing where it's like Bill Gates was there and they planned the pandemic 3 years ago or whatever, something like that.
It's just like a thing.
Well, yeah, it's a place where a bunch of rich fucking losers meet.
That's all it is. Isn't that where like the Davos conference
Something
is
like
from or some shit?
Yeah, it's like
it's a dog whistle.
Just some quick legitimizing QAnon for you. I gotta absolutely love that. And then we gotta get into Title 42. I think
we gotta get into Title 42.
Because this is one of the last questions here. Getting close to it. It was about immigration and Title 42.
So exciting.
Because Title 42, as you know, Biden said he was going to remove it. He said he was going to get rid of it
after he re-implemented it.
After he
very
used it.
Fucking important context to go into this discussion.
And then it was challenged in court, the removal of that policy. So right now it's being held up in court, and I don't really know what's happening with it. It's in a weird place right now.
It's like in limbo.
Yeah. But McCormick said they all, of course, support Title 42.
Yeah, they were all asked what they think about like the ruling and what they think about Title 42. They said the question was framed in such a way where it's like they didn't have to reaffirm support for Title 42 and be xenophobic to answer it. I'm pretty sure the question was, do you think a policy that is meant for like regulating global health, like a public health measure, should be used to turn away immigrants at the border? That was the question.
Yeah, because if you don't know Title 42, we've covered it before, but it is a COVID policy that allows you to reject immigrants coming into the country on the basis that they could have COVID.
Yeah.
Which is what Biden used to reject like all of the Haitians that were trying to come to the United States over the summer, because there was that big immigration crisis. So McCormick and Oz, or all of them really, said that they support Title 42. McCormick says that Oz hires illegal immigrants at his businesses and that he loves illegal immigration.
And then Oz had to defend himself, and he goes, no, actually, my stepfather at his company, he had to pay the fine, but I don't have anything to do with that. I just make a shit ton of fucking money from the stock dividends. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And then Barnett says that 4 million people are coming into our country.
Oh, yeah.
And they're causing human suffering.
In Oz's answer, he specifically said, quote, Why would we drop the obligation for immigrants who are coming into this country as part of a cartel-run human trafficking operation that's basically subsidized by the weak rules of the Biden administration?
What else do they want?
What the fuck?
Like Biden's been fucking terrible on immigration. Kind of as we expected.
He's been worse than Trump.
Yeah, and it's like, what else do you want him to do? Like, do you want him to like actually execute people at the border? Because it's like the right always uses immigration to fearmonger, right?
Yeah.
They're always like scary brown people coming in across the border.
Yeah.
But Biden's been pretty bad on immigration from a left perspective. He's been pretty in line with what Trump was doing.
Yeah.
So it's like they have to find ways to be even more extreme so they can call Biden out for being, I don't know, pro-immigration in there. Like, what else do you do?
And it's like, we talked about this, I don't know when. I think it was over like last summer. I remember Fox News is running an immigration story. I watched it, and the only fucking B-roll that they could get for the story is footage of a bunch of fucking abuelas crossing a river with their grandchildren.
Yeah.
And Dr. Oz said that this is a cartel-run human trafficking operation to, I don't know, get drugs in the country and rape everybody.
Oh, Carla Sands took it up a level, though. She called it an actual invasion.
God, dog, that was crazy.
She said the immigrants coming into this country should be classified as an invasion.
She also said, following that, if we don't get this in check, 20% of people living in the country will be illegal by the end of the Biden administration.
2 years? Well, maybe 6. Maybe
True.
6.
True.
Maybe
Could
6.
be.
What?
20%. 20. That's like 70 million people.
Hell yeah, brother.
I love it.
Dr. Oz is going to love all the illegal immigrants so he can hire them all.
He's going to have such a strong workforce now.
Yeah, no, it's so crazy. She called it an invasion on the border.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just violently, like people coming into the country seeking a better life for themselves and their families. Not a fucking invasion.
Yeah.
Like, yes, some people are peddling drugs across the country, but honestly, in some cases, they're doing that because we flooded their country with drugs. Like in a bipartisan way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just extreme brutality. That's what they always want. And then another interesting question was that they were asked if Ukrainians should be treated differently than other immigrants like coming across the southern border.
I bet you all can guess their answers on this one.
They all said yes. They all should be given special treatment. Why? Like, I get, like, Ukrainians should be given good treatment, right? They're fleeing war.
But our critique is we should let everybody in.
Yes.
We should give everyone that good treatment.
What is the difference between someone fleeing from war and trying to survive and someone fleeing from whatever other form of violence and trying to survive? There's no fucking difference. And in many cases, in Latin American countries, the violence is our fucking fault. So why are we not letting immigrants from the southern border come in?
It's so fucking wild.
I'll tell you why. It's because the Ukrainians are white. That's why.
Obviously. I mean, the fucking CNN reporters literally said that. We covered it during all the Ukraine stuff. They literally said, these people have blonde hair and blue eyes. They look like me. And that's what they're all invoking right there.
That one British BBC reporter was like, guys, it's not like they're from Syria.
Exactly. Come on now.
Fucking ridiculous. And then the moderators, they got into a topic that I didn't think they would get to.
Yeah.
But it was about trans athletes. They've asked if candidates would vote for legislation to ban trans athletes from playing in sports that align with their gender identities. And they all said, I bet you can guess, that trans women should not be playing with cis women. Of course.
Dr. Oz specifically, of course he invoked his fucking medical degree to say, no, there are differences between men and women. This is not fair whatsoever.
Yeah, there's differences between tall women and short women, black women and white women. There's differences between women with long arms and short arms.
Yeah.
Like, their answers were almost always biology matters. Like, yes, it does. The biologically superior athlete usually wins anyway.
And it's like, even if you accept the framing that there's some crazy advantage, it should not be a question of if trans women should be included within women's sports. It's how to more equitably include them if you accept that framing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It should never be a question of if they should be allowed to compete.
Yeah. No, I feel like anytime we're talking about, I don't know, discriminating, we need to err on the side of respecting people's rights to participate in things.
Yeah.
Rather than barring them
In
from participating.
arbitrary things as well.
Yeah. Bardo said that the NCAA failed women in response to the Leah Thomas situation. Carla Sands completely pivots, doesn't even really answer the question, and starts talking about CRT and indoctrination. She she did the thing where she looks dead into the camera
every single fucking time. If you're watching this on YouTube, she gets to the fucking camera just like,
yeah.
And then we're gonna stop all this.
If you're listening to audio, Gage just stared at the camera.
I got it right in its face.
But yeah, she really didn't answer the question at all. But we know what she believes. We can infer.
Oh yeah, you're just staring at her fucking soulless eyes.
Yeah, and again, there is no evidence to suggest that trans women have some like outsized advantage when compared to cis women after they adhere to all the regulations.
Yeah,
there's just not enough evidence to justify policies that would keep trans women from participating. And at that point, you're just again asking for the state to discriminate against people.
Love it.
And that's bad. The state should not discriminate.
No, it should not.
In my humble opinion.
Quote us on it.
Exactly.
That's an official head in the office statement right there.
I love the appeal to biology. It's like, people are different. Like, it's like people are always going to be different.
I love it. I just love it when doctors do it because you fucking know better.
Yeah.
You absolutely know better. It's ridiculous. I love it when doctors are the ones saying there's only two genders because it's like, one, how'd you get into fucking med school being this goddamn stupid?
Well, Oz
right?
is just a grifter.
And two, going through med school, going through biology, you understand that there are more than two sexes.
Yeah.
You understand that chromosomes can be configured in many different ways.
Yeah.
Fucking wild, dude.
Speaking of two sexes, Trevor Noah did the White House Correspondents' Dinner, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was yesterday. He did it. And he made a joke where he said something like, Ron DeSantis is gearing up to run in 2024. And he's doing that by getting rid of all the textbooks.
Yeah.
So that people won't remember how to count. So come to the election, people won't know who won or who lost. And he can just claim that he won, right? The whole joke was like, get rid of the math and people can't count the votes.
Yeah, yeah.
And someone was tweeting that out on Twitter and Ben Shapiro was fuming.
Oh,
he was
no.
like, your side can't even count how many genders there are. And that includes counting to 2. Like when you said that Ben Shapiro's all of his angst and anger is just because he wanted to be in the liberal circles and could never make it, it's just true. Like he badly wants to be invited to
be
these
at
things.
the White House Correspondents' Dinner out there cracking bad fucking jokes.
Yes. No, he wants to be the speaker. He wants to be there with all the media reporters being celebrated like, First Amendment free speech stuff. But he never will be because he's a fucking loser. He so badly wants to be a part of the liberal camp. He wants to be included and feel like he's a respected thinker among these people, but he never will be.
And that includes counting to 2. So fucking stupid, dude. I saw this TikTok the other day. I might make a fucking TikTok responding to it. This fucking corny ass conservative page. He was on there and the background was like some dark alley. And he's like, yeah, I got the good stuff. I got the Constitution. I got biology textbooks back when there were only 2 genders. Dog. I swear to God, if you can find me a fucking biology textbook that states explicitly that there are only 2 sexes and there can never be anything more, I will give you all the fucking money we have made on the podcast.
Hey.
That doesn't, it's not a thing. It's not a fucking thing.
You better watch out, bro. Prax Ben's about to follow up. Prax Ben's about to follow up on this.
A recent fucking textbook, like a modern textbook that's made since we've fucking synthesized we coded the human genome, since we learned about fucking chromosomes and understood how meiosis works. Dog, I swear to God, they're dumb.
Yeah,
they're dumb.
Yeah. So if you're anti-trans, you should stop.
You should stop that.
That's just a bunch of bigotry and vitriol. And that's not good, people. It's not good. Facts. Keep that in mind. Anyways, that sums it up on our election coverage. Primary election is on May 17th, so in a few weeks.
That's very exciting.
Like 2 weeks. Right now, again, as I said before, the polls currently indicate that Oz and McCormick are in the lead. Probably going to be one of them that advances, and they will probably end up facing John Fetterman, who's favored to win the Democratic primary right now. So, excellent. John Fetterman, I think he's the lieutenant governor right now of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So, I don't really know what his stances are, so I won't make any commentary.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out come more October. But right now, it's time to focus on the fun stuff.
Yeah, once we see the McCormick versus Fetterman debate.
Yeah, exactly. I think McCormick's gonna take the primary. He's just the most fucking conservative. He is the embodiment of a caricature of what it is to be a conservative. He's not fucking real. Like,
yeah, I don't. I mean, we know that Carla Sand's not gonna win.
No,
right? They don't like women. Kathy Barnett, same reason. Plus, they don't like black people.
Yeah.
The Bardos guy is the only normal person, so that automatically disqualifies him from winning. He's too normal. Oz, I want to think he has a chance. He was leading in the polls before, but I don't know. It's between Oz and McCormick.
Everyone is fucking attacking Oz, so I don't think he takes it. They were all talking about tweets. They were all talking about positions he has literally fucking flip-flopped on, just attacking him vehemently. Carla's basically playing spoiler for, like, Oz and Barnett. She has no fucking chance.
But she's playing for third.
Yeah,
she's literally playing for third. She's third partying them for real.
She's just taking votes from fucking Oz and Barnett to give them to McCormick, I guess.
No, yeah, literally. Gotta absolutely love that. Gotta love that. I just love it when candidates just get up there to lie. Because that's really all this was just them just fucking lying.
This is really all these debates are. They're just lie, deny.
Yeah.
In 60-second intervals. Insane. A putrid fucking format, too.
I love the debates, though.
They need to be longer. Like, obviously, there's never going to really be spirited debate. There never fucking is when you get to that level of anything. It's just all talking points. But Jesus Christ, no wonder nobody watches these things. Yeah. People barely watch the presidential debates, and they're, like, at least a little more substantive. At least they get, like, 2 minutes to talk.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, we just need to do, like, town halls where people just get pressed by some reporter.
No, pressed by regular people.
Yeah.
Because some of those town halls were pretty good. The fucking NBC town hall with Trump, that shit was
I think
crazy.
You're so handsome.
I just love your smile. That's my favorite moment of 2020. Person. Oh, my God.
She should run for president.
Horny. Incredibly horny, bro. She was horny posting on NBC at the town hall to the president, the leader of the free world.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. Anyways, that sums it up for this episode. So before we go,
special thanks.
I think we got to give a special thanks. So special thanks to Cricket Scrapbook Layouts, Nikki Nine Lives, Caden Kraut, Terrence Nicholson, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Talia Katz, 40% Spite, Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Mattias T, John G, The B-Plot, Clayton LaForte, Ash Fairblood, Mark Yeager, Sarah McRoberts, Derek Messina, Dylan B, Satan's Menstrual Cycle, The Mind Sculptors, Kaz, I got it right this time, Caleb Joy, and my mom. Thank you all for supporting the show on Patreon. I'll remind you, if you're listening right now.
That's right.
And you're not a patron,
hit us up.
You can go become a patron literally right now.
You could. You could do it. It's not free, but you could do it. It's something you can do.
Something for free you could do. You could join the Discord.
Facts.
Participate in the community.
Come talk to us.
Come hang out.
Facts.
Be some homies.
Pretty cool.
It is actually a pretty good time. You can check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts.
Drop a comment, like the video.
Follow on Spotify. You have to comment.
Hit us with a "What's going on, everybody?" Make sure to like and subscribe and put on the notification bell. Every single episode we upload every Wednesday at 12 p.m.
Literally. If you've listened this far, you must like the show quite a bit.
I hope.
So I'm gonna encourage you. You actually are morally required to leave a comment. I'm bringing it back. Moral obligations.
I want to see more of those. This is my obligated comments.
Yeah, you have to leave a comment. Otherwise, you're ontologically evil. And
you know what happens to our enemies who are ontologically evil.
Yeah.
Anything is justified against them.
Exactly. You don't want to be that. Thank you for listening to the show, and we'll see you all next week.
Have a good one.